Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Jeff. Today we're going to run through 10 stocks that I've been looking at. They are on my watch list, and I just want to share them with you guys because in the comment section, some of you guys have brought up some questions. What am I interested in? All that stuff. And I have just been finding some pretty cool stuff in my surveying the whole world, not only of semiconductor, but of other stocks. Before we get started here, this is not investment advice. I'm just sharing with you some stocks that I've learned about in hopes that maybe you'll find them interesting and as kind of a springboard for you to do some more research on your own. So the first stock that I want to talk about with you guys today, a company called Remitly. And I'm just going to write down the ticker symbols here, and then you can find out a little more information if you want. And the ticker symbol is RELY. And what's real interesting about Remitly to me is, it's one of these companies that helps people who are, say, here in the US to send money to family members in other countries as frictionlessly or seamlessly as possible. It's people anywhere in the world. Remitly has an app. It's a phone app, and you're able to log on and put all your information, connect it to your account, and then send money without using Western Union. So another company, and this is a stock that somebody who follows this channel had asked me about, is called Indi. I-N-D-I is the ticker symbol, and this is Indi Semiconductor. And the company is spelled I-N-D-I-E, but the ticker is just I-N-D-I. And I told the person who wrote in the comments that I'd look into this. So this company is kind of in the same niche as a company that I invest in, which is Allegro Micro, ALGM. Indi Semiconductor is a much newer company, and they're a smaller company. It doesn't mean that they're worse, but I'm not going to be investing in Indi Semiconductor. Again, this is not financial advice, but I'm just telling you why. So a few things. One is that this company is not yet profitable. It's close, and it looks as though it may become profitable in the next couple of quarters. But the reason I don't like it a lot is that even though they're growing their revenues quickly, what I've noticed is they're growing them by acquisition. And I looked carefully at the company's financial data, at their information, and they have acquired 7 different companies in the past several years. And the way they've purchased these companies is by issuing stock to make the purchases. And this is really, in my opinion, not a great idea because you're diluting the existing shareholders whenever you just create new shares of stock and use them to buy other companies. So unless all your stockholders keep on buying more stock, well, if you bought 100 shares of, stock in Indi, then they just became worth less whenever the company issues more stock. So really what you want as an investor is to have a company where they're buying back stock or reducing the total amount of stock outstanding. And what I've seen Indi do is to actually increase the number of shares of stock outstanding and thereby diluting the existing shareholders. So I'm not investing in Indi simply because to me, Allegro Micro looks like an already profitable company that's not diluting its shareholders to this extent. And Allegro is just a company that I like a little bit better. But I told you I was going to share some new names. Here's a third. It's called EPAM. E-P-A-M. And EPAM Systems got onto my radar because I'm an investor in a company called Globant. Ticker is G-L-O-B. And Globant is, well, let's put it into the bucket of companies that stand to benefit from the growth of artificial intelligence. And there are 3 that fit into this bucket for me. One is called Accenture, A-C-N is the ticker. The other is Globant. And then the third would be EPAM. And these are companies, just looking briefly about EPAM Systems. EPAM Systems engages in the provision of software product development and digital platform engineering services. So, that is kind of generic terminology, but these are companies that are developing software suites for their customers, and they're selling them things that are going to hopefully help these companies develop their AI in the future. So this would be like if you were a fund manager and you were running a mid-cap or a small-cap fund, you wouldn't be able to buy NVIDIA, for example, because that's just such a huge company. So you would be forced to be buying mid-cap companies, and that would be companies like EPAM or Globant. So anyways, I'd consider EPAM an AI investment play, but again, this is not a company I know really well. I don't own stock in it. And yeah, so it's worth looking at if this is something of interest to you. So the number 4 company I wanted to bring up today is actually the one I just mentioned, Accenture, and that is ACN. So they're a much larger IT services company. I would put them in the same bucket as EPAM and Globant, only EPAM and Globant are much smaller companies. They're, in the below $15 billion market cap. EPAM, for example, is EPAM is $18 billion. Globant is smaller. However, this particular company, Accenture, is a much larger company. This is a $232 billion market cap. So it's one of the largest IT companies out there, ACN. This is going to be a much more stable investment than investing in Globant or EPAM. And it's a company that actually shows up in a lot of technology ETFs. For example, VGT, the Vanguard Information Technology, holds ACN in its top 10 holdings. So let's look at the number 5 stock in this watch list. And this is BYD. BYDDY. And this is a Chinese EV maker. And some of you guys might have heard of this, but this here is actually a company that sells more electric vehicles, I think, in the world than any other company, including Tesla. This is a data point that I should look into more closely, but I know that in China they sell many more electric vehicles than Tesla, and it may be that they've eclipsed Tesla worldwide. Wanchan Fu is the CEO and the founder of BYD. BYD stands for Build Your Dreams. It's a very interesting company. This guy is brilliant. The company is profitable, and it's one I've looked at for a number of years, but I never felt that I really knew enough to invest in Chinese electric vehicle manufacturers. So I'm not an investor in BYD. It is on my watch list because I love to learn about these things and I love to follow them. And I feel like if I have them on the watch list, at least I'll check in and kind of watch the company over time. So let's look at number 6 here on the watch list. And this is AZEK. I'll put it right over here. A-Z-E-K. See that? A-Z-E-K, AZEK. And what they are is, AZEK is an outdoor decking company. They make decks outdoors, and in rainy areas, for example, in the northwestern United States, like here in Seattle, it rains a lot during the fall, the winter, and the spring. So people don't like to build wood decks, or if they have wood decks, they're really looking to like tear them apart and replace them with composite decking. And the biggest company in the sector is Trex, and then the smaller company, but one which has really high quality materials, is AZEK. And so AZEK is the number 6 stock on my watch list. I don't own it. I happen to own Trex, but AZEK is one of those stocks that I think I'd really like to own, but at some point I have to put a limit to how many stocks I'm buying this year. So AZEK did not make it into my portfolio for 2024, but they make a product called TimberTech, which is a really high quality composite material. And yeah, who knows, in the future, AZEK might make it onto my real portfolio where I own the stock, but for now it's still on the watch list. So the other company I wanted to bring up to you is Transmedics Group, and that's let me get this here, TMDX. And I'll tell you why I like TMDX. There it is, right over there. So let's say somebody died in a car accident and they were organ donors. Let's say you had a person who was waiting for an organ donation and they were at a hospital on one part of the country, and then there was a car accident somewhere else and the person died, but their organs were in really good shape. Let's say they were a younger person. Well, in the past, what would happen was they would put these organs, let's say like the heart, in a cooler, in an actual cooler on ice, and they would put that in a plane or in a helicopter and fly it over to the recipient, who would then get that organ, let's say the heart, and they would transplant that into that person's body. Now with technology, this company, Transmedics Group, has actually come up with machinery that connects the heart to a machine that actually enables the heart to beat and actually stay oxygenated while it's being transported.
Headed toward the surgical suite. Without closer inspection, few people might not even notice this device. And yet, as it's brought into the operating room, this little machine represents a revolution in the performance of organ transplantation. Throughout the entire 60-year history of organ transplantation at MCV and VCU Health, one of the constant challenges among many has been keeping donated organs viable for as long as possible. Cold storage under the best of circumstances has given organs anywhere from 3 to 12 hours of viability at most. That greatly shortens the time and physical distance from which donor organs can be sent to recipients who are in grave health. Today, we are beginning a new era with technology that extends the time and distance organs can remain viable. The Hume Lee Transplant Center is participating in a trial for a new profusion device that acts as a mini portable ICU, keeping organs viable for extended periods as if they are living inside a body.
What that machine does is, rather than putting the liver on an ice, we put that liver on a pump, which is like an artificial, you could call it a heart-lung machine, and you put the liver on a pump and then it gives the oxygen as well as a continuous blood flow through the liver.
So this is actually, these are being used currently, they're FDA approved, and as far as I know, Transmedics Group is the only company doing this. So I'm still learning more about it. What I don't want to do is buy stock just because I heard about it on the internet and I looked at the stock and then I thought, oh, I'm going to buy this. Because that's not a process. That's just hoping it works out. But anyways, I want you guys to know about Transmedics Groups, and you can learn about it a little more now. You've got the ticker, TMDX, and do your own due diligence, do your own research. Another company here I want to tell you about is called BLDE, BLDE, which stands for Blade, BLDE, Blade. And what this is called Blade Air Mobility. And this is a company that does the transportation, for example, for a company like Transmedics Group. So Transmedics Group might have an organ in one state, let's just say Washington State, and it needs to go to Montana. Well, that's a very quick trip, but trying to get a commercial aircraft that's available to move that organ can be really tough. That's where Blade Air Mobility. Think about it this way, it's like an Uber, but it's a helicopter. So that's what Blade Air Mobility is. The definition: Blade Air Mobility, Inc. engages in providing air transportation alternatives through a technology-powered and global air mobility platform. It operates through the passenger and medical segments. So I just wanted to tell you guys about this company because I think in some ways it relates to Transmedics Group, which I just talked about last. And now you have another company on your watch list. So we're on the home stretch here. APG is the number 9. Wow, we are in the home stretch. APG. And I will tell you about this, the ticker symbol. It's called API Group, but the ticker is APG. It engages in the provision of life safety and specialty services. It operates through the safety services and specialty services segments. So this is a company that does all kinds of infrastructure, natural gas, electric, water, sewer. They do all kinds of infrastructure stuff. And this is, again, a company that I just learned about recently. They're based in Minnesota. And I'm doing more reading about this. But this is basically HVAC, like heating, ventilation, air conditioning, sewage, all kinds of contracting like that. And it all has to do with life safety, and they're specialists in this. So anyways, this is the 9th company on my radar here, on my watch list. And this gets us over to our final one, which is TransDigm, which is number 10, TDG. And TransDigm's a really interesting company, one we've never heard about. Oh, there it is. Can you see it? There it is, right there in the corner. If you're working at Boeing, if you're putting together Boeing jets, or if you're working with any other smaller aircraft manufacturer, the chances are you're getting a lot of your components. And it's a big company. It's more than a $63 billion company. But you know, this is one of those big aerospace companies that you may never have heard about. And so anyways, it rounds out my 10 stock watch list, something I wanted to share with you guys. I think it's funny, the whole inspiration to share this came from one person who asked me about Indie Semiconductor, and I said, hey, yeah, sure, I'd be glad to make a little video about that. And I, again, didn't have a lot of experience with Indie, but I thought I knew enough to lump it into the same group with Allegro Micro, and then I decided I personally don't like Indie Semiconductor as much as I like Allegro Micro. And I think one thing I can share with you guys is investing a lot of time, it's just comparing things. It's comparing two things. And when they're both in a really similar sector of the stock market, it's easy to compare them because you go, oh, look, this is, you know, semiconductor chips used in electric vehicles for autonomous driving and power systems. And then you say, oh, and this one is a semiconductor chip company, and they do sensors, and they're involved in power systems, autonomous driving. So they're similar. And then you just go, well, which one's profitable? And I went, well, Allegro. And which one's diluting shareholders? Oh, Indie. And which one seems to be larger and been around longer? Oh, Allegro. And which one actually came into being through a SPAC, which seems to benefit the people who issue the SPAC, but not the retail? Oh, Indie. So the fact that Indie Semiconductor came around through a SPAC, the fact that they're diluting their shareholders, and the fact that they've just acquired all these other companies through issuance of shares just didn't look that interesting to me. And that's why I decided to make this video, so that you, the person who asked me about Indie, finally has an answer as to what I think about that particular company, which is not a lot. But again, that's just my own opinion. This is not financial advice. Do your own reading on that. Hope you've liked watching as I've talked a little bit about some new ticker symbols. Maybe you invest. Do any of you guys invest in any of the companies I just mentioned? If so, put it in the comment section. I always love to read what you guys have to say, so write down below. Maybe I was right on some of these companies, maybe I was wrong. I'd say of the whole list, I found that the Transmedics group, the one that makes the machine that keeps the lung and the heart and the liver alive and perfused with blood and oxygen during transport, that is the most mind-blowing company of everything on that list. That's the one that if I knew more about the company, about the leadership, and about the sales of that company going forward, that I could really get excited about. But again, I'm not one to jump into a stock just because it's exciting. I want to know that the company is durable, that they've got a nice moat, that they're not going to be outcompeted by some other company in the future. So anyways, that's how I think about these things. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. This is a great way to support the channel, kind of let other people in YouTube land who might be interested know about this. And if you're interested in more videos about small cap stocks, especially semiconductor stocks, and ETFs that relate to technology, subscribe to the channel. I make new videos all the time, and you will be one of the first to know. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.